Future Shock is a book about the psychological state of individuals and societies when confronted with accelerating rate of change, mainly due to technologies. It was written by Alvin Toffler, an American futurologist, and was published in 1970. First of all, Toffler described future shock as the shattering stress disorientation that we induce in individuals by subjecting them to too much change in too short a time. Toffler touched on almost all life areas to illustrate the future shock. In order to understand this diagnostic of future shock, Toffler separated his book in 6 parts: the death of permanence, transience, novelty, diversity, limits of adaptability, and strategies to survive. The fourth industrial revolution caused a shift in Western societies. The rapidity of production, whether we're talking about goods or services, that these high technologies permit, produce a concrete force that reaches deep into our personal lives. This force completes us to act out new roles and confronts us with the danger of a new and powerfully upsetting psychological disease. This is future shock. It's a state of an internal and external being that makes us experience supernormal rates of change. The concept of transience provides a key to explain the problems of high-speed change in a new way. Rapid change drives societies toward rapid way of creating, producing, living through the conception of short-term projects. In the field of architecture, for example, modularism is observing a conception of apartments and spaces that can be transformed completely because they're structured this way. This accentuates the short-term relationships that we have with objects, the throwaway society, as Toffler put it, or the economy of obsolescence, as we all say it. We also have short-term human relationships. The rise of mobilization and traveling around the world bring about lack of commitment. Mobilized people don't have attachment to their family birth. They have an ability to replace friends with other friends because they're more present in their new space, share their new interests, etc. This ability is also what makes the citizen of super-industrial society capable of easily change their jobs and careers. They actually think in terms of serial careers and not in terms of a career. Toffler also aborts the organization of the future, which breaks down bureaucracy to become Ad-hocracy. The rise of project or task force management due to the high rates of turnover results in transient teams whose members come together to solve a specific problem and then separate. This results in short-term organizations that are destroyed when they no longer serve. Hierarchy is impacted as well. There is a switch from vertical to lateral communication systems. Decision-making is no longer the monopoly of managers. In this type of organization, all professionals from different fields are brought to work together. Interdisciplinarity is quite present. All of this new structure of organizing work accentuates the existence of entrepreneurialism within the heart of large organizations. Super-industrial societies can also be defined by a scientific trajectory. Biology constitutes the center of these super-industrial societies. Tremendous technological developments play a huge role in the orientation of biology evolution. In this direction, microbiology was very developed in the first place in Japan. This field plays a great role today in food industry that is based on processes which bacteria are used. The orientation by which biology was developed poses ethical questions. Cloning, for example, can be destructive if we choose to reproduce what is morally conceived to be wrong. The pursuit of an embryo makes one question the definition of parenthood. Is it a legal matter or a biological matter? In all cases, the rapid speed by which our societies advance in all life areas, and specifically in biology, generates the rise of a new model of child-rearing such as single parents, adoptive children, legal parents, homosexual marriage, etc. The novelty part aborts also the change of the economic sector due to technological acceleration. There is a shift from the economy of goods to the economy of services. The rise of a strange sector called experience industries, it's all about the focus of manufacturing toward the psyche experience of consumers when consuming their products and services. Unlike the standardization that defines industrial societies of the late 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, super-industrial societies distinguishes by a diversity of services and goods. If we take an example of Philip Morris brand of cigarettes, it had sold a single major brand of cigarettes for 21 years, but since 1954 it has introduced 6 new brands and so many options. What makes this diversity of choice possible is of course advanced technologies. In that sense, the diversity of services and goods will cost no more than uniformity. However, Toffler brings attention towards the fact that we are racing toward over-choice, the point at which the advantages of diversity and individualization are cancelled by the complexity of the buyer's decision-making process. Thus, choice may become over-choice and freedom. There are discoverable limits to the amounts of change that the human organism can absorb. Accelerating change without first determining these limits aggravate the risk of throwing people into that peculiar state that Toffler has called future shock. Its symptoms vary according to the stage and intensity of the disease. These symptoms range all the way from anxiety, hostility, to helpful authority, and seemingly senseless violence to physical illness, depression, and apathy. Correlations between change and illness are proven to exist. As Toffler put it, change carries a physiological price tag with it, and the more radical the change, the steeper the price. We are not infinitely resilient. For Toffler, the answer to future shock is a different kind of change that takes drastic social, even political action. The clear answer is to capture control of the accelerative threat itself. This requires to take under control technology. Strategies to survive future shock is not only about taking control of the accelerative threat. Education must shift into the future tense. That is to say that we should teach children about future visualization through exercises. Decision-making must include everyone. In politics, in industry, in education, goals set without the participation of the disaffected will be increasingly hard to execute. The continuation of top-down technocratic goal-setting will lead to greater and greater social instability, less and less control over the forces of change, and ever greater danger of cataclysmic, man-destroying upheaval.